Hi, I'm Art Kirsch, co-founder of Celebrating Act Two, and along with my partner John Coleman, we are today have an exciting guest, Brian Page, voice actor extraordinaire, and he's going to tell us all about himself if we ask. John?
Thank you, Art. If we ask Brian, we're asking. We're asking. No, before you tell us all about yourself, the reason we wanted you to be our guest is because I know we know Art and I know you professionally for many years, and we're very well aware that you have had multiple careers. I really don't know how many, but I know you've. I think at one point was a fireman. Here you are
Correct.
now, a professional voiceover actor. You're a director. You're a stage director. You do sound work. So these are completely different careers. They're
And
not
also,
just
we've
jobs.
seen you professionally perform professionally and you work, but you're also
Right.
very generous and giving of your time, helping other people come up and giving them a hand up. So uh, we appreciate your friendship,
Right.
and we think that your story can inspire others who are trying to figure out what they're going to do with the rest of their life at various stages of the rest of their life.
Sure,
I
sure.
hope
And
so.
well, that's the thing. This is celebrating Act Two. So we're celebrating the second half of our life, your life. Anybody over 50 is celebrating that second half of their life. And what happens, we know from all our friends, we know that what happens frequently is that people are 50 years old, not ready to retire for 10 to 20 years yet, but they get downsized. I don't know, the company goes bankrupt, or they
Hmm.
get bought out, or they lose their job, or or maybe the company wants to downsize and they buy you out, give you your pension, make you go early. These are all things that leave people with the question of what the hell do I do now to make some money? You know? So they're forced usually, but not always. Sometimes people have a midlife crisis and want to find their passion. But people over 50 often have a much more difficult careers starting anew. And so you've done this 3 or 4 times. How many?
This is, I consider this my fourth career.
Really? What was your first career?
I was a firefighter and an EMT.
And that must have been exciting. Obviously,
Oh, it was. Gave
that's
me a
something.
great learning experience and valuable lessons as a young man that I've carried through for the rest of my life. Abilities to operate in intense situations, or when problems occur during, even in this career, when I was a producer for a live radio talk show. Um, Things invariably go wrong technically, and you're off the air in a live broadcast across the nation. You
That's a
either
little scary. Yeah.
you either panic or you look for the problem and fix it, and so
Yeah. Well,
as
that's
those
that.
were panicking behind me, I was fixing the problem. So,
I think that's an interesting situation because oftentimes we are when we are forced to change careers or we're looking for a new pathway, we need to recognize that we have skills from past experiences. We need
absolutely.
to draw on those.
Yeah,
What was your
as a
second?
matter of fact, just to follow up on that with you, Brian, a little bit, uh, I had 30 years in high tech hardware and software, and the last 5 or 6 years was building and fixing companies. Essentially, I'm a crisis manager, and that's why I became a producer because you need the same skills.
That's
You have to get the job done.
exactly.
So anyway, back to you, Brian.
Yeah, what I was going to say, Brian, is what was your next career after firefighting?
I went into a family business that was in the wholesale furniture arena. I became a manufacturer's rep for 12 years or more, until my parents retired. And then through other circumstances, I went into the real estate business after that. Became a realtor for a short period of time, but very quickly gravitated over into mortgage lending and became a loan officer. And I did that for 10, 12 years.
Now, did that have anything to do with the real estate bubble and whatever it was, 2000 and
Well,
something or
in
other?
the situation when I was doing very well in the mortgage business, doing a lot of loans as the interest rates were falling over a period of time. But in 1994, the interest rate shot up in April, remember it vividly. And being on commission only, I had zero income overnight. And that necessitated a change. And I went and I was in sales and been in sales for most of my life at that point. So I ended up selling computer components and starting out in doing a on-air radio shift once a week. In the same week, I started both of those jobs.
Was it related to
So
your sales activities, or you just coincidentally happened to be doing a sort of a new
just, I
thing?
was able to, yeah, it was a new thing. I was able to get in and start doing an on-air shift. And very soon after that, started doing voicing radio commercials and did more and more of those as time went on, and ended up having a morning radio show 5 days a week for a while. And then I got off air and started producing radio and producing day or weekly and daily talk radio programs. And then I got out of radio altogether and just ramped up my own voiceover business and been doing that ever since.
So Brian, are there similarities between what you're doing now and you have been doing for what, past 15 years or so? Voice business, voice acting and
24
directing?
years.
24 years. So are there similarities between that career and the career of sales, of the various sales jobs you've had?
Well, there are fundamentally some similarities, even though I'm a voice actor and I stand in front of a microphone or sit in front of a microphone and record various elements from commercials to e-learning projects to corporate narration projects. Most of the business is marketing. It's selling the business, selling me, selling my voice, networking, and all the regular business-oriented things about business.
So again, skills could be transferred.
Correct.
They do seem like very, very different careers. Do you see them that way? I mean,
oh yes.
The only thing I will say is that having run sales forces and done selling on the street early in my career, you are the product. You're a straight commission salesman selling your product. So, whether the interest rates are up or down or anything else, you're really marketing it. You alluded to that. You're marketing yourself all the time, and you happen to be the product. So,
that's interesting.
That's true.
So in the same way that an actor is the product, the salesman is the product.
Right.
That's interesting. So that makes those skills even more transferable. I wonder how many people over 50 who are put in a position of having to find, a new income or a new career, how many people are able to look back at what they've done in the past and see which of their skills are transferable? Did you see that at the time, Brian? How did you approach each of these changes in your life?
Well, I came into each of them kind of open-eyed. I know, I knew they were different type of careers, but I do believe that you gain experience and talents and abilities no matter what you do, and they are interchangeable. There's really very little new under the sun, depending on what you're doing in different businesses. There are things that are unique to it, but there are things that are universal. And sales is sales, no matter what you're selling. In a sense, there's basic precepts that go along with that, and a talent for it, or whatever you want to call it. there are people out there that teach sales, and it really doesn't matter what the industry is. And from that, then I was able to use certain things in each and all of those businesses to move forward.
Now, I have a question for both of you, because you both have something in common, and that is, Art, you went from a tech career. It might have been sales, but you were in high tech, graphics, and a whole bunch of other things, and business management, to a creative career, a producer of events and films. And Brian, you went from I don't remember if it was tech, but it was certainly a big change to go to a creative career, as Art did. But your creative career was not producing, it was acting and directing. So the question for both of you is, I think a lot of people in, whether it's tech or industry or whatever, they have creative juices that have never been satisfied.
Correct.
All of a sudden, imagine if you're 60 years old and your company is downsizing and you need to find a job. You can't retire yet. You might have the opportunity to exercise those creative juices that you've never been able to, that itch that has never been scratched.
Well, you touched on one thing there that's the key word, and that's opportunity. Most people are victims of the fear that goes along with that situation, that change. And if they allow the fear to take over, then that's pretty much a situation that locks you in place and doesn't allow you to move around very well.
Very true.
So opportunities will come. And I think one of the aspects that is really underutilized in today's marketplace, all over the place, is the use of mentors. And if you find yourself in a situation like that, it's not just about finding a new job, but maybe finding somebody to help you get through that period of time in your life and give you great advice, wisdom, and direction and how you're supposed to approach it. So,
Yeah.
I also wound up becoming a producer because I got caught up in the internet bubble a couple of times, and it just wiped me out twice. And I said, I'm traveling all over the world. What am I doing this for? I live in Orange County, California. I'm not home that much. And so let me try something different. And then I worked from home for a while, and I did some consulting contracts. But my son was out of film school a couple of years and actually doing quite well. And I always admired that business. And I thought, well, a producer is a crisis manager, and that's what I do. So Brian went and he was doing a radio gig for a while. I went to a community college and enrolled all the 18-year-olds who were in film school and found out what everybody did on the set. And quite frankly, I'm still friends with some of them there, and both the head of the program, Charlie Myers, talking about mentors. Didn't spend a lot of time, but each one of us were able to share with the other the things that we went through.
yeah.
And while I only hire professionals that have high levels of skills when I do big commercial jobs, I learned enough about it that you're talking about you didn't know have a creative bent in your life, or you didn't know it. I learned to do some basic editing and shooting and things like that, and did a number of documentaries that actually turned out quite well, but they're vanity projects that nobody was going to pay for, but I could learn and better appreciate what everybody else does. So sometimes you get forced into things, but like Brian said,
Mm-hmm.
don't be afraid. Just go do it. The worst you could do is fail, pick yourself up, and you know what? Somebody will be there to work with you if you're there to work with them.
Yeah.
Well, fear in that area is natural, and it's a scary thing. You just have to grapple with that and not let it be the lead. You take the lead, and look for those
By the
opportunities.
way,
They're
talk
there.
about some of your
They'll be there.
directing. I find, well, your voice is this great voice that we all love. You direct plays, which
Thank you.
is pretty intense stuff, and you have to do a lot in a very short period of time for a very short run. How did you get involved in directing?
Well, I was a stage actor for just about the same amount of time I've been a voice actor. You know, those two things to me dovetail. They're both acting, one behind a microphone, one on stage in front of a live audience. Both I'm passionate about both. Both are energizing and fun. And I did the acting thing for many years and decided I wanted to try directing. And so about did a little bit, but then I started more intensely directing about I don't know, 6, 7 years ago, and I find it highly enjoyable and very challenging and lots of fun too. I just auditioned and cast a new play this week. I'm directing a play called Laughter on the 23rd Floor. It's a Neil Simon comedy, and I got a great cast, and we're just starting our rehearsal process. So I'm looking forward to this. This will be about a 6-week rehearsal process, and then the show runs for 5 weekends. And I'm looking forward to doing that. I've got 2 more directing gigs coming up this year. And then I have 2 possible acting gigs next year that I know of already. So
Hey, Brian,
And that's why we love you, Brian. You're
and
making
Brian,
money.
if people want to reach you,
theater's not the best place to make a lot of
if
money.
people want to reach you to either hire you or just to listen to you give them a limerick, uh, how's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Well, my email at the current time is voiceactor, one word, at yahoo.com. I have a website called brianpagevoiceovers.com, and you can get me at either one of those places. I'm also on Facebook and LinkedIn, and that's about it.
So you both mentioned mentors, friends to help you when you need a new direction. And I wanted to say that both of you have been very good mentors through the local professional group that we're members of. You have been mentors to other people, young, old, various age. And I think that's a really important aspect of whatever age you're at, whatever stage of life you're in. You got to be a mentor as well as find a
Right.
Yeah, and
mentor.
I'll just add to that that both Brian and John, both of you have been mentors to me because you've had a much more career time. Well, certainly you, John. Uh, you've been
Mhm.
producing.
I say the
You've been
same.
producing since you've been in diapers. So, uh, and Brian, you just in addition to being very fine as an actor and a voiceover talent, you just are very generous with your time. And I've seen you in dozens of instances. Just say a nice word to somebody, or maybe pick them up if they don't have a ride, or just so many different things. So it's my honor to know.
Yeah.
Well,
Here,
thank you
here.
very much. You're here for both of you guys as well.
Thank you.
Our
Let's stop the kissy face here for a minute, just for a
Oh,
darn minute. Stop
and we
all
were
that
finally
kissing.
getting into.
I wanted to just jump in for me and tell you that the reason this is an interesting subject for me is because here I am at well over 50, and I've never really changed careers. I started out in television, and I've always been in television, same industry. I've worked at 4 different television stations and had lots of other different jobs and owned production companies, but none of those were a career change. They were a different job,
Mhm.
different paycheck from a different company, but pretty much doing the same thing, building on my credits. I had a good time, and sometimes you leave, sometimes they ask you to leave. But the point is, I never had to reinvent myself as each of you did. And I think that's a lot scarier for most people to, holy cow, I can't go back. Where do I go
Well, I
now?
think
Instead
Brian
of,
and I can both say with confidence that probably your next step should be become a volunteer firefighter.
Anyway, I wanted to recap for all of those people who are celebrating Act Two devotees and people who have reached 50 or 60 or even 70 and need to change careers or maybe just look for a job. Brian, you talked about a positive attitude, using mentors, turn to friends, find out, looking at past skills. What else did we talk about?
Well, you take a personal analysis and you write all that down, and you approach this keeping your eyes wide open, looking for the opportunities, and you be active and you go out and make those opportunities sometimes. But the help and the wisdom and the advice you can get from others, and that has to be filtered too. You have to take that in and analyze it, and see what what the meaning is behind their advice.
Sure.
But getting that helps in the decision making process for sure, and it can be a comfort as well, knowing that you've got people in your corner helping you, giving you advice, maybe looking out for you, that kind of stuff. So that's important, to keep your eyes open for those opportunities and lean on other people. We're not really built well to be standalone entities. We work best with others around us.
Yeah. And on Celebrating Act Two, Art and I have gone out of our way to post stories. I think there's quite a number of stories of people over 50 who have reinvented themselves or started a new career or followed their passion.
Right.
And as some fascinating stories, interesting people. I think that would provide a lot of inspiration for people who might be facing this situation. So, Brian, thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank you both, gentlemen.
And until the next time, thank our audience for joining us at Celebrating Act Two, interviewing Brian Page. Thank you, John. Thank you, Brian. And thank you, all of you out there.